Coming up on show 858, planes are the new drones when it comes to filming Tesla gigafactories being built. Stick around, I'll tell you more. Plus, it's time to start investing in infrastructure for electric trucks, says the World Economic Forum. The Mercedes-Benz EQE has rather a lot of range, and Polestar winning a design award. Those stories and more on the podcast today. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily for Tuesday, 4th of August. My name is Martyn Lee, going through every EV story every day, so you don't have to trawl through all the news. So a slightly new look to the podcast as of this week. For those that missed the news perhaps over the weekend or yesterday, what we'll do is a Monday to Friday show to help manage my weekend time a little bit better. Then we'll also do the interviews on Saturdays as and when I get to do them. And we will make sure that with consistency, we do Saturday's bonus show for Patreon supporters at $10 or above. I've never fully nailed that show. We had problems with the RSS feed for those private access podcasts, but I'm going to fix that and bring them back. So those that support on Patreon at $10 above or more will still get 6 news shows a week. Everybody else gets 5 news shows a week, obviously for free, and then some interviews on Saturdays as and when, like I say, they come up. Hope that's okay. It's a trial. We'll see how it goes. Maybe a little more time at the weekend off for me with the family. That's the new idea. Well, road freight is a major source of transport emissions, and decarbonising the sector is key to meeting the Paris Climate Agreement's goals. Not my words, the words of the World Economic Forum when they chime in on EVs. I'm tempted to listen to what they have to say. Limited availability of truck-specific charging infrastructure is slowing down the uptake of battery electric trucks on European highways, they say. Now, in Europe, trucks account for 2% of vehicles on the road, and if you've been stuck behind a truck on the motorway as 3 of them are all overtaking each other at the same time, you'll think 2%, it's more than that. It's not. However, they are responsible for 22% of CO2 emissions of land-based transport. That's an amazing disparity between the amount of vehicles and how much pollution they emit. Says the World Economic Forum, investment in emissions reducing infrastructure, so putting in truck chargers over the last decade and numerous national incentive schemes for private vehicles has led to an increase in battery electric private passenger cars, and yet there's no harmonized approach for scaling up public charging infrastructure specifically for electric trucks. It just hasn't happened. Now, it's important to note the technical specifications of charging infrastructure needed for heavy-duty vehicles are distinct from passenger vehicles. In order to recharge a battery electric truck, more powerful charging points are required, and these are best located, at least for long-haul travel, on European highways in locations that can provide sufficient parking spots. In other words, a big enough parking space to pull in and charge your truck. Charging a heavy-duty truck with the charger intended for passenger cars would take, in some cases, 6 days of charging. With more powerful charging points, you could do it in 45 minutes. It's something that never gets talked about, and it's interesting that the World Economic Forum just published a very long blog post about this. I'll pop a link in the show notes if you would like to read more. It's interesting the data they've gone into. I would encourage you to read it if you have any interest in this space at all, and it's something that, the trucks can be built now. Maybe not on scale because there's not enough batteries around. We'll get onto that in a moment. But the knowledge exists to build an electric truck. Tesla are winding up their semi-truck production soon. Winding up as in scaling up, not winding up, winding down. You know what I mean? And so where are we going to charge these vehicles? Now, many of them, if they go to a depot overnight, well, they can be charged there. But what we're talking about here is a long-distance transport of goods across continents. They're going to be on the move. And when the vehicles aren't moving, mainly because of mandated rest periods for the drivers, they should be charging. So it's a big job to do, never gets talked about, not very sexy, but I'm putting it first in the podcast today because it's something that it needs to be surfaced. And I hope that if this podcast can, entertain, educate, and occasionally raise someone's, just what they're thinking about, then then it's job done for me. And talking of batteries for electric trucks, where are they going to come from? Because, according to Air Quality News, not enough thought is going into where we are deploying batteries. We're not going to be able to electrify all of our transportation in the time frame necessary to deal with climate change, says Cameron Roberts, a researcher in sustainable transportation at the University in Ottawa. According to airqualitynews.com, road transportation is a major consumer of fossil fuels. Now, they put it at 16% of all human-caused greenhouse gases. Various studies I read put it between 15 and sort of 22%. Many people think it's higher. Transportation is around a fifth or less than a fifth of all human-caused greenhouse gas emissions. But they warm up the Earth's atmosphere and cause changes to the climate. Even if every single vehicle was electrified tomorrow, even if there was some way that I could click my fingers and make it happen, there's still so many industries that need to clean up. But at least what you and I talk about, which is transportation, at least that can get cleaned up as quick as possible. In 2019, the world produced about 160 gigawatt hours of lithium-ion batteries. Now, that's enough for a little more than 3 million standard range Tesla Model 3s. And if only we use those batteries for cars and we don't build any smartphones, laptops and grid storage facilities with the facilities to make batteries. The battery production capacity currently under construction, it should not be underestimated. There's a huge amount of construction going on in 2019, 2021, and when it comes online, we will have the production equivalent of 40 million EVs annually by 2028, according to one estimate. Even at that level, though, it would take us 35 years to replace the global fleet of vehicles with pure electric models, not nearly fast enough to avoid the worst consequences of climate change. So although we all agree there should be more EVs and more electric trucks, for each electric truck, how many cars could you make? It is the argument that plug-in hybrid manufacturers make. Toyota make this argument very strongly, that actually they don't believe in battery electric vehicles because if you can make a plug-in hybrid that does nearly all of its miles and doing its chores and going shopping and dropping the kids at soccer practice, but you make an EV that does 20 or 30 miles, they argue they can make many more cars with that amount of battery resources, which does a better job. And on the face of it, that logic seems to hold true, but that's a fallacy, because any time we build a vehicle which is a polluting vehicle in terms of at the tailpipe that's going to be on the road for many, many years, that's the wrong argument to be making. It's almost a bit of a cop-out argument that it seems logical, but you go, oh, okay, well, just something feels icky about saying, let's not aim to build electric cars, let's just make hybrids because you're very good at making them, I guess is one reason. So let's still be ambitious about making great electric cars, but we need many, many more batteries. Wow, I'm only 2 stories in, and there's so much to talk about on the podcast today. I might be doing fewer shows per week, but it's a packed show today. All right, if I'm going on too much, just play me at 1.5 speed or something. The electric performance car company Polestar, the spin-off of Volvo owned by Geely, has won a Red Dot Award. They are the brand of the year. Exceptionally well-designed brand communication has earned it the prestigious Red Dot Brand of the Year award for 2020. Polestar emerged ahead of 7,000 international entries to scoop the internationally recognised design award, says Richard for Motoring Electric. Judges said it won because of its success in portraying a consistent brand image across various channels. It's an honour to be named Brand of the Year by Red Dot, says Thomas Ingelath. He's the CEO of Polestar, and for those that follow these things, he is the former guy in charge of design at Volvo. Design is at the core of Polestar, he says, in each and every aspect of the brand, and it deserves our full attention. In order to fulfill our promise of pure and progressive design, as well as the overall Brand of the Year prize, Polestar's brand identity was named Best of the Best winner. Again, it's for its consistency. Maybe it's the brand, the spaces, the buildings they're going to be sold in, but the car itself as well is just really stunning. If you haven't watched those videos out there, look, they had a press blitz about 2 weeks ago with the YouTubers. There is 1,000,001 Polestar 2 reviews, all dropped around 2 weeks ago. Just go and check out your favourite one. And I mean, I've probably watched most of them by now myself. It is a stunningly designed car. before we get into the arguments of, but is it better than a Tesla? And yes, it hasn't got a supercharging network. I get all those arguments. I'm talking about what the car looks like and it feels like to operate, the UI, the design, to be inside that space. It is beautiful. Moving on, Mercedes-Benz ramping up development of their fleet of electrically powered EQ models as early prototypes of the EQE. It's an SUV and it's been on the road in Germany for a time. I've talked about it on the podcast a few times. Mercedes' ambition is to have a range of fully electric cars under the EQ brand. EQA, EQB arriving by the end of the year, says Auto Express, and beyond that there'll be the EQE. It's an SUV. It'll be a mix of steel, aluminium and carbon fibre to minimise the weight, and the platform itself can take a battery pack of 100 kilowatt hours. And that, say Mercedes, gives you a range of 430 miles if you can keep it light enough. It's almost certain that that will be the flagship car, though, and cheaper versions with smaller capacity batteries and reduced range will feature in the EQE lineup, but it's going to be a 2022 car, so don't hold your breath. Let's go to China for 2 stories and Russia for 1. Chinese property developer Evergrande unveiled 6 new energy car models today as the company aims to further develop its business in China. The company said it's developing new energy vehicles at full speed, and the 6 models are the first batch under its car brand Hengqi. The models cover passenger car makes like sedans, SUVs and multi-purpose vehicles, according to the Chinese website shine.cn. Evergrande has ambitious goals in the new energy vehicle sector, but industry insiders point out the challenges ahead. An analyst at the China Automobile Dealers Association said that among 6 new energy models unveiled on Monday, 4 of them are large vehicles not suitable, ideally for pure battery electric drive. They said the other 2 models are A-class cars, but will be competing with very popular models from the likes of BYD, Geely, BAIC, BJEV, WM Motor and the rest. NIO, staying in China. NIO delivered 3,533 vehicles last month in July. That's a 322% year-over-year increase. Someone's getting their bonus. NIO delivered 17,702 vehicles so far in 2020 in total. Cumulative deliveries of the ES8 and the ES6 reached almost 50,000. And on July 24th, NIO announced the price of the EC6, starting from 368,000 RMB, and taking production now orders for the 5-seater premium SUV. It's got a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that's going to go a really long way. They say 615 kilometers, but they used the crazy NEDC way of working it out. But with a battery that big, it'll be good, it'll be long, it'll be sporty, it'll be stylish. EC6 deliveries begin in September. So that's China. Let's go to Russia. Russia's main unofficial Tesla dealer hopes zero customs fees will lift sales of US vehicles despite their relatively high price and fledgling charging infrastructure. Only 353 new electric cars were sold in Russia last year, including just 81 Teslas, says Reuters. While Tesla has not officially entered the Russian market, Tesla Club helps customers and businessmen, politicians, those that can afford it, buy the cars abroad and maintain them. Alexei Ermanchuk, head of the Tesla Club, Russia's unofficial dealership in Moscow, told Reuters customs fees have decreased, so demand has increased. People took it very well. Well, Moscow cut customs fees for EVs to 0 in May, down from around 50% for individuals as they were. Prices for new Teslas in Russia now start from what is about $58,000 for the basic standard range plus Model 3, 4.3 million rubles, and on average people pay about 7 or 8 million rubles for their Teslas. Following several months of inactivity because of the shutdown and virus, ABB Formula E is back in action. Last seen in Marrakesh, now it heads to the Tempelhof Airport in the German capital of Berlin for the 6th consecutive year to complete the final rounds of the season, says motorsport.tech website. It's going to be a frantic restart and a finish to the season at the same time. 6 races over 9 days, and the Formula E All-Electric Championship wants to make the racing challenging, exciting and unpredictable. Each pair of races will have a totally different track configuration. It's at an airport, so there's plenty of room to reconfigure the track because it's just one big flat tarmac space. Okay, let's talk about German Tesla owners and the headline story today: going up in the air. Now, drone flights over Tesla gigafactories is nothing new. Pretty much every day there's a new video of Tesla Shanghai expanding, Model Y, battery facilities going up there. The Giga Berlin factory as it's only a couple of months old. And now Giga Austin, or maybe even Terrafactory Austin going up. But let's go back to Germany. Overflights with drones are part of the standard program for Tesla fans and the real hardcore fanboys and girls. Now, however, several German Tesla hardcore fanatics have joined together, and they're not just flying their drones, but rather they have upgraded their flight tech. Just a little bit. Latest pictures aren't taken with drones, but now they are chartering small aircraft, says newsabc.net. This is a hilarious story. Like, this is how the lengths that people will go to see Tesla building gigafactories. And you know what? Although I like to poke the hardcore fans a little bit, they don't all live in their mum's basement, because they're single in their 40s and just looking at their posters of Elon Musk on the wall. Some of them actually go out during the daytime. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. But the hardcore fans do take it very, very seriously, don't they? But this group I think it's a group of guys, actually, with their light aircraft, mean they can go much higher. And that does, I'll give them credit, offer a very different perspective. The drone flights can never quite fit in the whole site in one wide-angled lens. They're always zooming around and moving, and it's always very hard to get a perspective of the whole site. Now, rather than being 50 metres high, the light aircraft they're chartering are 400 metres high. Less detailed, but better context. And you can see in these amazing pictures, just after a few months, 9 months after announcing Giga Berlin and 6 months after the first tree was felled, 4 weeks after the pre-approval of the foundations and unfinished buildings going in. Just absolutely amazing pictures. I'll pop a link in the show notes. In all seriousness, if you'd like to read more. Okay, moving on. In an interview with Automotive News, a 3-part interview actually. In the first part, Elon Musk has been explaining that the Cybertruck was born out of a simple desire to build an awesome car, and if people don't like it, Elon has a plan, says Road and Track. Does this mean Tesla has a conventional pickup waiting in the wings? Well, that's unclear. Was Musk spitballing? Probably. Elon Musk said this, and I quote, "If it turns out nobody wants to buy a weird-looking truck, we'll build a normal truck, no problem. There's lots of normal trucks out there that look pretty much the same. You can hardly tell the difference. And sure, we could just do some copycat truck. That's easy, so that's our fallback strategy," end quote. And I'll pop a link to that interview in the Road and Track website in the show notes. Audi Sport boss, a chap called Dieter Gass, has acknowledged that the German manufacturers are interested in the possibility of developing an all-electric touring car. Now, he was asked if Audi Motorsport would be interested in the development of pure EV touring car racing for DTM. He told the website Touring Car Times, "I think this idea has got some inertia now, and it has started moving since last year." He told Touring Car Times the Volkswagen Group has an electric touring car with the Cupra E-Racer, which will make its debut racing in this year's inaugural Pure ETCR season. Moving on to some solar. The world's largest floating solar power park outside of China was recently completed in the Netherlands, and it's expected to provide energy for over 7,000 homes. It was built in only 7 weeks, says Clean Technica. More than 18 hectares inside the solar power plant has 72,000 solar panels that bob up and down on the water. It uses glass solar panels so the light can get through to the water. There are sizable gaps between the solar panels, and they're far enough off the water to allow airflow. The inverters and the transformer houses, they all float along with the solar panels. Only one cable goes ashore, so the impact of the solar park on the flora and fauna in the banks is minimal. Only 30% of the surface of the water is covered with panels. Bio-huts have been installed. Cages with 3 compartments. The middle one has shell material and empty baskets on both sides so that the baskets provide shelter. The shells are food for small fish and even small vertebrates. The empty baskets are protection against oversized fish so that small fish can move safely in and around of the shell material. I've been thinking about the environment with these solar panels and, of course, generating clean, green, renewable power. Hopefully a few of those 7,000 homes have electric vehicles charging their car on the sunshine from panels bobbing up and down in the water. And finally, Mazda can't stay away from combustion engines. They just can't help themselves. The Mazda MX-30 was introduced at the end of last year as an all-electric model and announced in a further version with a range extender. Okay, adding a bit more fuel to it. And now they have had another think, and they're going to make it a mild hybrid, says Chris from Electrive. The presentation took place at an event near Tokyo. They added a hybrid offshoot to what was, at the beginning, an exciting, fully electric SUV MX-30. But Mazda just can't help themselves adding engines to their cars. Real shame. There's going to be some companies that don't survive this transition, isn't there? There'll be some that merge, some that go under, some that thrive. And, I hope that the people who work for those companies are treated well by the management that are making bad decisions. That's not a Mazda thing, by the way. I'm just saying generally. Some people will get it right, some will get it wrong. There'll be winners, there'll be losers. And it'll be interesting to see over the next few years what those names are. Well, that's your show for today. Hope you enjoyed it. You can email me hello@evnewsdaily.com or leave a comment on the YouTube comments. You know, there are 857 shows in the archive. How did I make so many of those? But if you are a glutton for punishment, you can go back and check out the archive. The blog is, very simply, evnewsdaily.com. It's the world's most simple WordPress blog. I mean, it's embarrassingly simple, but it gets the job done. Little search box on there if you are, researching or looking into certain stories. Over the last couple of years, I'm sure we've covered it off. If you can leave a little review anytime on iTunes, helps me out. If you can share the podcast, really helps me out as well, to grow the show and reach more people. And the premium partners, we couldn't do it without any of our Patreon fans. But Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Porsche of the Village in Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East, nationalcarcharging.com and alohacharge.com to check out your hardware chargers. And now, a fellow EV enthusiast, Derek Riley from the EV Review Ireland YouTube channel. Well, have a wonderful day. I'll catch you for Wednesday's edition. You know, you should always remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.